Hi, I'm Lauren Maillian Bias, and this is Lioness TV.
Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us today. I read your bio. You are very impressive. Can you just talk a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have started 3 different businesses, and most recently I just published my book, The Path Redefined, Getting to the Top on Your Own Terms, which was an instant bestseller. And I'm busy doing a lot of new exciting projects. I just invested in a fashion brand, so I'm helping to kind of power the expansion behind a new menswear line.
Nice.
And doing a lot of TV and marketing work, and continuing to support the companies that I'm investing and advised.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the book. What are some of the main points in it? I mean, it's a bestseller, so it's got to be some great information in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business memoir at its core. So The Path Redefined is about my story as an entrepreneur and how I built 3 businesses before 30 and how to define and attain success on your own terms. So it is, my entrepreneurial journey combined with a lot of insights. The end of every chapter has reflection points that allow the reader to kind of go back and see what's most important and how they can possibly apply that to their lives and their careers. And then throughout the book, there are a lot of vignettes and kind of touch points from colleagues of mine where they talk about what has contributed to their success and what's kind of been an inflection point in their life or their career.
Okay, so 3 businesses. So let's talk about the first business. What was that business and what led you to start it?
So the first company was a vineyard and winery that I started when I was 19, and I ran it for 8 years. I was chief operating officer until the company was acquired in 2011, and then I started a marketing company in New York called Luxury Market Branding, where we started out doing wine and spirits, primarily all of the marketing and brand strategy to power those brands, and then we moved into hair care and skincare and fashion accessories, jewelry. And then I started advising technology companies and then investing in technology companies. And so I then started an early stage venture firm in New York called Gen Y Capital Partners. And I ran the fund and did all of our investing for nearly 2 years. And starting that firm made me the first Black woman to start a venture firm, which is kind of a fun fact that I wasn't aware of when we sought out to start the company. And then that kind of leads us to where I am today.
So you are just trailblazing. So I read that, with your winery, you were the youngest person to start a winery in the country.
Yeah, youngest self-made winery owner. I joke that the media will always find a way to make you the first in something. So.
Yeah, but you got a couple of firsts. So talk to me a little bit. Our readers and our viewers, they're women entrepreneurs. They're out there trying to make their dreams happen. And that takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of guts. Talk about your mindset when you were doing some of these things.
My mindset has always been to be the best I can possibly be, and I only take on a challenge if I think that I can really execute on it, and if I'm really excited about it and passionate about it. So.
Okay. Now, did you ever have any times where you just thought, you're in this business, you're trying to build it, you're trying to grow it? Like, what was one of your most challenging moments that you had, and how did you overcome it?
I think all of my challenging moments are all overcome by the same technique, which is really learning how to flip adversity on its head and turn it into something that you can learn and grow from.
Okay.
And I think that oftentimes we hear a lot of criticism and we take it as a moment of defeat, or at least allowing ourselves to feel defeated or to be very discouraged. And so I try to take all of those moments where we may hear something that's discouraging and turn it into something positive. And I think that when I started my first business, they didn't expect any young woman, especially a woman of color from New York, to come down to Virginia and to start a successful vineyard and winery. And so, you have to show your value. You have to very quickly show people how and where you can add value, especially when you need them to respect you early on. And so in my first company, it's exactly what I did. I was great at marketing and branding. It was an area that they really needed a lot of help in. They didn't really understand, and they certainly weren't implementing it to the best of their abilities. And so I found myself volunteering on every tourism board, marketing committee possible to show them that I was not just a woman of my word, but that I was intelligent and that I had wherewithal to make something successful.
Okay.
And it kind of forced them to respect me. And in a very short period of time, I went from the girl that they thought couldn't get it done to the girl that they finally respected and really admired and wanted to work with.
So what made you do that? What made you leave New York and go to Virginia to start a winery?
It was an opportunity. It was a real estate investment that I turned into, an agricultural incentive that I turned into a very successful business.
Okay, so you actually at 19, did you set out with the intent to start a business? Like that was your goal?
Yeah, my goal was always to make money. It didn't necessarily have to be a business. It could have just been a series of investments, but that investment ended up becoming a company.
Okay. Now, did you go to college?
I did. I have a Bachelor's of Science in International Trade and Marketing.
Okay, where'd you go?
I went to FIT,
Oh, very nice.
Fashion Institute of Technology in New York.
Okay, and so did you make the transition to Virginia after you went to school?
I never lived in Virginia full time, so I was going back and forth a lot. Yeah.
While you were in school?
Yeah, you got to read the book.
Yeah.
I was building my first company while I was finishing my bachelor's, while I was pregnant with my first child. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So just talk a little bit about, so it sounds like you had a lot on your plate at one time. Can you talk a little bit about balance? How did you find balance and still maintain your ambitions and still move forward?
Well, I don't think that anything is ever going to deter my ambition, ever. I'm a very driven person and I'm self-motivated, so I don't think that there's ever a time where I'm not going to be ambitious. But I don't know that there's ever a way to balance. I think there's only a way to integrate, and I talk about that a lot in the Path Redefined, is that, I don't believe in work-life balance. It's all about work-life integration. And so for me, that's based on being incredibly transparent, both with my children, so that they can appreciate what mommy does for a living and the sacrifices that she makes, and they can understand why mommy's not home sometimes and what I'm doing when I'm on the road. And they also obviously get to benefit from that when we get to go do fun and amazing things and they have wonderful life experiences. But conversely, I'm also equally transparent with the people that I end up working with. So that allows me to integrate my personal and professional life as much as possible.
Okay. That's something that with Generation Y, we're hearing a lot, that it's not about separating work and life. It's about kind of how can you integrate those things. What would your advice be to a Gen Xer or a Boomer who was looking to just integrate more? Like, what's a good first step to take in order to try to find that work-life integration mix?
I think it really depends on what that individual has on their plate, so it's hard to just give kind of blanket advice. But I would go back to the previous comment, which was just transparency. Being as transparent as possible, so that people understand who you are, what's important to you, and then as a result, people make much more reasonable asks of your time when they know all the other things that are on your plate and in your life.